Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Nigeria's tax system just got its biggest shakeup in decades. President Bola Tinubu has now officially signed into law 4 major tax reform bills in what the presidency is calling a game changer for Nigeria's fiscal future. So what's in the new laws? The Nigeria tax law, we understand, brings all the country's tax rules under a single roof, making it easier for businesses to understand and comply. There's the Nigeria Tax Administration law that sets the same standard for how taxes are collected across all levels of government, whether you're in Abuja, Lagos, or Gombe. There's a new agency now replacing FRSC. It's called the Nigeria Revenue Service. It's expected to be more independent, more efficient, and even take charge of non-tax revenues. And a new board has been set up, the Joint Revenue Board, to help federal, state, and local tax bodies work together. It includes a tax appeal tribunal and even a tax ombudsman to protect taxpayers and also help them handle disputes and complaints. For the team behind this reform, they say these new laws are pro-poor.
We have old laws that we need to bring to states that actually match the situation that we have in our country today. And the SA media said it, that before we are federal inland revenue before 2 hours. Today, by special grace of God, through the assent of Mr. President, we are now Nigeria Revenue Service, which is expanded scope to also focus on non-tax collection, increase efficiency, and actually match as a source, as the implementer of all other major tax that we have.
These reforms are not about raising more taxes. I think people get it wrong. A lot of people, including analysts and commentators, will say, oh, where are they going to get the more taxes from? Nigerians are poor. This is exactly trying to relieve people of the burden of taxes. These tax laws, they are now laws, are pro-poor in particular. More than 1/3 of workers in both the private and public sector will now be exempted completely from PAYE. They will not have to pay personal income tax. Small businesses, over 90% of small and micro nano businesses, will no longer have to worry about paying corporate income tax or charging VAT or even deducting withholding tax or paying PAYE for their employees. What this means is that there will be more money in the hands of the ordinary Nigerian to take care of their daily needs. In addition to that, these laws also provide what we call zero rate of VAT on essential consumption. What does it mean? It means any traces of VAT in food, in education, in medical and health care is now removed completely. So we should see prices of those items come down.
Well, getting here wasn't easy. The road to reform was rocky, especially in the National Assembly, where we saw a major pushback from some lawmakers who feared the reforms would favor stronger states like Lagos and Rivers, while putting others at a disadvantage. Some even branded the bills anti-North, warning they could, strip states of control over their own tax affairs. But now that the bills are law, what should Nigerians really expect? Will this indeed clean up the mess of overlapping taxes and harassment by multiple agencies? Will it strengthen the economy or deepen the divide between richer and poorer states? Who wins and who loses? What really happens next? Joining me now is the man who led the team behind these sweeping reforms. Taiwo Oyedele is the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal and Tax Reforms. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nifemi.
Mr. Oyedele, first of all, happy 50th birthday. Would you say this is the ultimate birthday gift or the biggest birthday responsibility yet?
100%. So thank you first and foremost for congratulating me on my 50th birthday. I think it's both. It's by far the biggest birthday present I have received. it's also the biggest responsibility, because getting the laws signed is one part of the journey. By no means very important, but it's also the start of the second part, which is really the implementation, where you then have to count on the impact and the outcome of those reform measures. And that's really when the ordinary person on the street, the small business owner, large firms, and Nigerians generally will feel the impact of the reform. So it's both a gift for me and also a call to even more service and higher responsibility. But I'm very excited to be part of the team.
Absolutely. These 4 tax laws have now been signed after months of back and forth, public debate, and what seemed a very strong political tension. Let's begin with the basics. What does this movement really mean for the Nigerian economy and the average taxpayer? What should they expect to change first?
Yeah, so the system we have currently, which we have operated since independence without any major improvements or reforms, is constraining to businesses, is limiting in terms of growth, and it places a lot of burden on businesses. In fact, as I speak to you now, the laws we have tax you on investment. You are taxed on your capital. This is you wanting to invest, and then we impose all manners of taxes on your investment, making it more difficult for you to invest. We have issues to do with the cost of borrowing, which has some component from the tax system as well, adding to the cost of working capital finance for businesses. We have people that we are taxing that are very poor. We call it taxing poverty, rather than allowing people to prosper and then share out of their prosperity, because tax is a consequence of economic activities. So we have all of this. So people are affected negatively, whether you are a poor person, a small business owner, or you're running your large businesses in Nigeria. It hasn't been easy. So what today means for us, and the signing of these bills into law by Mr. President, is that we are doing a reset. That reset is to say, just imagine that you have a brand new country, if it were possible, and you have to make up the tax laws for that country in 2025. What would it look like, right? That was what we're trying to, as much as possible, reflect. It was the reason why we did not amend the laws. Many of them are older than our independence. We decided that we should repeal all the old tax laws and write new ones. Of course, it doesn't mean that every single thing in the old laws is bad. So therefore, the things that are still useful, we just transfer them into the new laws and added new provisions that are more fit for purpose, that are more relevant for today's economy, that is inclusive, including provisions, for example, to cater for people with disabilities, provisions to take care of our youth, to find job opportunities for them, particularly within the digital economy, protect small businesses, protect low-income earners, and without leaving the large investors behind, by reducing their tax burden, harmonizing how we collect taxes, and even becoming more transparent how we report the taxes we collect. Overall, this is, in my view, actually, and I think this can be proven statistically, will be the biggest reform that we have seen in the fiscal and tax space since Nigeria's independence.
Wow. So for salary earners, should they expect to get more in their accounts now? Does it mean that they will be paying less as tax?
Yeah. So first and foremost, the laws, even though we can say the bills have been signed into laws, and as we speak now, we have new laws, they do not take effect until the 1st of January 2026. And that's on the recognition that the magnitude of the transformation that these bills, these laws are going to bring about require that we prepare for it, both from the government side, whether it's tax officers at the federal level, at the state level, local governments, government agencies, tax professionals, organizations in terms of their tax compliance. There's a lot to do with technology adoption, upgrading. There's a whole lot that we need to do. We need to issue a lot of regulations, guidelines, and public notices. So we want to give ourselves sufficient time. Even the 6 months we have is not sufficient, but we need to recognize the sense of urgency because we cannot wait. So therefore, the reduction in the PAYE of employees that will result in higher salaries, take-home pay for them, will not take effect immediately. Unfortunately, it will take effect from January 2026 because, like I said, we need to prepare for the implementation. For more than 95% of Nigerian workers, when that law takes effect, January 2026, they will see an uplift in their take-home pay, giving them the headroom to cater for their needs better. But for the top 3% thereabouts, those are the very high income earners, and you may be one of them, Nifemi. You may see a slight reduction.
You probably have to break it out.
You may see a slight reduction in your pay, and this is the way it is everywhere in the world. So if you earn about 5 million naira a month, while that may not be enough for you, you are clearly not a poor person. You can meet more than your basic needs. We want to cater for those who are struggling to make ends meet, not even sure where the next meal will come from. That way we can have a society that is more equal, at least reduce the inequality, that is fair, and therefore safe and provides hope for people, regardless of where they come from, their background, and the class they belong to.
It sounds like we're taxing the rich more than we tax the poor, right?
Yeah, just slightly more. And to be honest, I have to say to you that even though we are taxing the rich a little bit more, the marginal top rate will be about 25%, even if you earn ₦1 billion every single month. That is much less than about 35–37% you pay in Kenya, much more than over 40% you pay in South Africa or the UK. So all over the world, rich people are taxed a lot more just to try and get more resources to cater for society. We haven't done that in Nigeria for a long time. In fact, as I speak to you now today, the laws we have for personal income tax is such that low-income earners are made to pay the same top marginal income tax rate as billionaires. There is no really any way to explain that. It does not make sense. It is not right, and it's not sustainable. So that's what we are trying to fix. In fixing it, protecting the poorest people, you would also agree with me, it means that government will be losing money. And if you do not find you may not totally balance the loss in revenue, but you must make an attempt. Otherwise, you'll be solving one problem of protecting the poor and creating a bigger one of making the state go broke and being unable to pay even salary of the civil servant. So it's a balancing act, and we think that this balance we're able to arrive at is fair and equitable to everyone.
And this will impact workers in the private sector as well, right?
Yes, so if you earn a lot of money, whether you're in the public sector or private sector, you pay a little bit more.
Let's take a short break, Mr. Oloyede, and we'll be back with more. Stay with us, everyone. Mr. Taiwo Oyedele is the chairman, Presidential Committee on Fiscal and Tax Reforms. Mr. Oyedele, thank you so much for staying the course on the show. You are replacing the FRRS with the Nigeria Revenue Service. What's the difference, and why should Nigerians trust this new agency to do better?
Yeah, so trust is earned. It cannot be decreed. So we can't sign a law today and say from now on, everybody has to trust the government or trust the FRS or the Nigerian Revenue Service. No, that's not the intention. The intention is to set the legal framework that shows intentionality, that shows sincerity of purpose, and that it's very open and honest with the Nigerian people. Because, by the way, all these tax laws, bills that have been signed into law today were co-created by Nigerians. So even though I may be the face of the committee and the reform, I've got more than 100 committed, prominent Nigerians from all walks of life, that did the work. So it was co-created. The point being that the whole idea is that at the end of the day, if you set the framework correctly, then you have a better chance of succeeding when it comes to implementation, which is where we're getting to just now. And in the process of doing that, we can earn the trust of the Nigerian people. I'll give you an example. If you look around today and you Google on the internet, you go to physical offices, you will not see any tax revenue report that is up to the world standard, the world-class standard, like something you get in South Africa. And I would encourage anyone who is watching us and is interested to just Google South African Revenue Service annual report. You read the report and you want to pay taxes. We don't have anything like that in Nigeria. So in these new laws, there are very strict requirements as to the quality of reporting, the timeliness of those reporting, and making them available and accessible to the public. Because, to be honest, without transparency, you cannot build trust. If you're hiding something from me, then maybe I should be concerned. So the Nigeria Revenue Service, on one hand, is taking over all the roles of the FRS and more, helping us to deal with harmonization of tax collections, particularly at the federal level, helping us to build capacity for exchange of information, for using technology, and ensuring that there's reliable data, both for fiscal and tax purposes, making it easier for people to pay taxes. I always say, in various conversations when I make presentations and speak to friends, to say it should not be harder to pay taxes than it is to pay for pizza, or if it's amala you want to buy, because when you buy pizza or amala, you're getting something directly in exchange for the money you paid. So which means if there's a little bit of issues there, maybe you don't mind. Imagine taxes. You pay for taxes, you hope to get the benefits, you may not get it, and sometimes it's so indirect. You can't correlate it with the taxes you pay. So it's hard already to want to pay taxes. We shouldn't make the process of paying it too hard. These are the things that the new Nigerian Revenue Service will be dealing with, including using technology, fiscalization to make evasion harder. What we are trying to do is to make tax evasion very hard and expensive and costly, and to simplify doing the right thing so that Nigerians will wake up every day focusing on doing their legitimate activities and not have to worry too much about administrative burden and what the other person is doing.
Some people are worried, though, that the new agency, the NRS, might become a little bit too powerful. How do you make sure it doesn't overstep or become another problem?
I do not agree with that view. I know people see it as if the revenues that you collect as Nigerian Revenue Service is being managed by the Nigerian Revenue Service. So any tax you pay to the Nigerian Revenue Service does not hit their bank accounts. The head of the FRS today and NRS subsequently has no control over even 1 naira. In some of the engagements we had, because we're trying to learn from the other countries, we had some interactions with the French equivalent. They call them DGFIP. DGFIP not only collects taxes for the whole country, France, by the way, ranks many years as the highest tax to GDP ratio in the world, over 40%. So this agency collects all their taxes, and they also process all payments for all levels of government. Guess what their budget is? Their own budget is $8 billion. And they collect more than 1 trillion, not even dollars, euros. They collect more than 1 trillion euros. Nobody talks about them being too powerful. The IRS in the US collects trillions of dollars. So the framework we have set out in the laws, governance, conflict of interest, reporting, all of that are there for checks and balances. In addition to that, the NRS will still report to the Ministry of Finance, and of course, there's the National Assembly with oversight powers, and ultimately, this person is responsible to Mr. President per time. And there's the Nigerian people with the ultimate power to ask questions because there'll be more transparency, more information available. So I'm quite comfortable that governance structure is what is important, not the size of your revenue in terms of whether you're going to be too big or out of control.
The tax administration law, I believe, is now mandating everyone, federal, state, and local governments, to follow the same tax rules, right? But perhaps you want to throw some clarity into that.
Yes. So not exactly. That is the ultimate destination we hope to get to, but it's not something we could have done with the tax bills that are now tax laws, for the mere fact that some of the complications we have in the system today, including some nuisance taxes, are actually contained in the Constitution. You know, as you would agree with me, you can't write a law to change what is in the Constitution. So the process of amending the Constitution, we have submitted those proposals to the National Assembly. It will take time. For example, you have local governments are empowered by the Constitution to collect bicycle taxes, wheelbarrow levies, produce tax, radio and TV licenses, all those nuisance taxes that add almost no value to anyone but create a lot of problems for us, are still there as we speak now, even with the passing of the laws, because we could not have addressed them through the laws. But what we have been able to do is to set the framework. So that framework is there for local governments, is there for state, and of course is there for the federal government. To the extent that what you are doing now is not inconsistent with what we're asking you to do under the new law, is not inconsistent with the Constitution, yes, you are right, that has been harmonized. Anything that is going to be inconsistent with the Constitution, I'll say it's still work in progress, and we hope to get there sooner rather than later.
So we have just about 2 more minutes. I'm going to ask you 2 questions in one. I'm hoping you can just help us summarize your answer. We saw some strong pushback from northern lawmakers who mentioned that this reform would only benefit Lagos and Rivers the most. I'm wondering how that was resolved, if it has. And then you're also introducing a tax appeal tribunal and a tax ombudsman. For the average Nigerian, what do these offices do and how can people use them?
Okay, great question. So first, in terms of, it was against the North and all of those issues, those were misunderstandings of the proposals in the bills. With the help of stakeholders, we were able to explain it to I call them our second principals next to the president are the governors. We take their views quite seriously. And as you would imagine, we got to a point where we had a retreat with the governors, and they came on, in fact, they used the word, we strongly support the tax reforms. So that's something in the past. We were able to resolve that to get everybody to understand what we were trying to do, and it's not against any region. It's actually trying to bring in more fairness to benefit everyone. On the tax appeal tribunal and the tax ombudsman, we currently have the tax appeal tribunal, but it was set up under the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Law, which gives the impression first and foremost that it applies only to federal taxes, whereas you have disputes everywhere with state, with local government. So what we've done is to move it to Joint Revenue Board Establishment Law, which is more national in outlook, and then to amend the provisions such that they are more suitable for, our circumstances. For example, less legalese in trying to sort out your tax issues, getting those tax issues dispute resolved as quickly as possible. And of course, I'm quite excited about the tax ombudsman because it's now there to protect the ordinary person, the low-income earner, the small business owner. You don't need to write, good English. You don't need to even speak English. There will be call centers where you can speak in your language, and there will be help on your way to protect you in terms of ensuring nobody exploits you for paying taxes or for wanting to do business.
We have completely run out of time, Mr. Oyedele, but what's next for your committee now?
It's implementation. So we're going to spend the next 6 months, starting from today, working so hard, almost 24 hours a day, to try and get Nigeria ready for the implementation. So we're quite busy. But we like it. It's a good problem to have, if a problem at all.
I hope that you enjoyed this conversation like I did. We should have more of it because Nigerians, trust me, do have more questions for you. But we have to go now. Taiwo Oyedele is Chairman, Presidential Committee on Fiscal and Tax Reforms. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nifemi.
Well, that's our show today, everyone. Thanks for being a part of it. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.